On Earth-65 in New York City, north of a year in the wake of assisting Route Head Boss with Miles' spirits, Gwen Stacy relates her battle to make associations with anybody around her, feeling detached in her job as Bug Lady. Subsequent to getting out of her group, she recalls the last individual she felt near, her dearest companion Peter Parker. He, alongside his Auntie May, was extremely near Gwen and her dad, Police Chief George Stacy. However, she never enlightened any of them regarding her twofold life as a superhuman. Peter was harassed determinedly at school, in spite of Gwen attempting to shield him. Unbeknownst to her, he began trying different things with a hazardous synthetic. The evening of prom, a Goliath reptile beast went after the school and attempted to kill Peter's domineering jerk. Gwen, jumping right into it as Bug Lady, warded him off, making the structure break down on top of the animal. The reptile returned to Peter, who was mortally harmed by the rubble. Gwen attempted to save him, however it was past the point of no return. Peter uncovered he realized she was Bug Lady, and consoled her prior to passing on in her arms. Skipper Stacy found her over Peter's body and expected the concealed vigilante killed him, requesting a far-reaching manhunt for Insect Lady. In the present, Gwen gets back to find her father, who is not entirely settled to cut down the executioner of his little girl's dearest companion. Regardless of Gwen letting him know it's horrible, he before long leaves to answer an unsettling influence at the Guggenheim Historical Center. Gwen is soon behind him as Bug Lady, killing the police outside and entering to find a material-based rendition of the vulture has been sucked into her aspect and is unleashing destruction inside. She is nailed somewhere around the lowlife, however is saved by another between-layered explorer, Miguel O'Hara, a.k.a. Bugman 2099, head of the Insect Society. He tells her that Vulture, and others like him, have been getting sucked into imaginary worlds since the Collider episode in Miles' reality. His suit and powers are as yet battling to curb the Renaissance period Vulture, and he utilizes his man-made consciousness called Lila to call for reinforcement as Jessica Drew, another Insect Lady. Together, the three can stop Vulture and save the regular folks and police nearby. However, Miguel almost utilizes a couple of stowed-away teeth on the animal. Gwen is out of web and harmed, and stops to rest. She is found and cornered by Chief Stacy, who attempts to take her in. With no different choices, she uncovers her way of life as his own little girl, to his shock. In spite of her attempting to dissuade him and announce her guiltlessness of Peter's demise, he keeps on setting her collared. He is come by Miguel and Jess, who plan to return the Vulture to their aspect. Jess persuades a profoundly hesitant Miguel not to abandon Gwen in isolation, and he permits her to go with them. A while later in Brooklyn on Earth 1610, another humble lowlife named the Spot attempts, fruitlessly, to loot an ATM utilizing his spots, which make gateways whose position he can't handle his powers. Miles' spirits, aka Insect Man, shows up to stop him. He doesn't view the apparently innocuous criminal in a serious way, as it appears to be clear he is clumsy and doesn't have any desire to hurt anybody. However, Spot demands that he is Bugman's foe. Before he can make sense of, Miles gets rushed texts from his folks, Jefferson and Rio, who are sitting tight for him at school for a gathering with his rule to examine his composition future. Miles attempts to bring down Spot rapidly, yet the erratic entries lead to a tumultuous pursuit across the city. Miles ultimately curbs Spot, however needs to pass on to meet his folks. Miles is doing alright in school, however a portion of his grades, and his extracurricular exercises as a whole, have experienced his unexplained non-attendances. His folks are likewise worried that he needs to leave for a composition in New Jersey to assist with concentrating on layered travel. He leaves abruptly, seeing that Spot has gotten away, and Jeff leaves also, to Rio's disturbance. Jefferson follows Insect Man, who has returned to battling Spot, the unremarkable man feeling offended that Bugman considers him low-level reprobate. While magically transporting everywhere, them three end up in vestiges of the Alchemax Collider. The Spot tells Bugman that this is where they were both made, as Spot used to be a researcher at Alchemax, the person who Miles tossed a bagel at in the principal film, and ran the test which brought the bug that piece Miles through from another aspect. In like manner, when Miles obliterated the Collider, the energy delivered caused a mishap that transformed Spot forever into the humanoid entrance animal his is presently. The Spot was evaded by his partners, companions, and even family for his condition. He becomes maddened, and attempts to go after Insect Man and Lieutenant Spirits, however incidentally kicks himself into a profound entrance, which closes behind him. Jeff is disappointed that the crook moved away, as well as all the property harm brought about by the battle. He trusts in Bugman about his battles to be a decent dad and spouse, and the veiled Miles ungracefully offers counsel prior to leaving. The Spot thinks of himself as in a void, where he sees numerous entrances made by his spots. Glancing through them, he finds he can make a trip to various aspects through them, however loses energy and can't get back to in the middle between space. He decides to figure out how to get more ability to control the void and rout Bugman. Miles proceeds to attempt to adjust his life as Miles with his obligations as Bugman. While late to a major party to commend his father's forthcoming advancement to police chief, he stops to get cakes, yet is continually waylaid by Insect Man obligations returning, missing his dad's discourse. At the point when he at long last makes it, the cakes are demolished, and his folks defy him about his cryptic way of behaving. Miles becomes baffled attempting to concoct a clarification, and snaps at his folks. Rio and Jeff ground him, and Miles stomps off to his room. Gwen unexpectedly shows up through a layered entryway constrained by a watch given to her by Miguel, and she welcomes him to hang out. They suit up and Gwen fills him in regarding Miguel's association, the Bug Society, which she has joined to assist with safeguarding the different universes. The two watch the city for some time prior to halting to talk, and Gwen trusts in him that he is the main companion she's made since her Peter kicked the bucket, as Miles relates his own battles with the tension from his folks. He thinks perhaps he ought to simply come clean with them, however Gwen cautions against it. As they draw nearer, Gwen comments that in each and every other universe, a variant of Gwen Stacy succumbs to Bugman, however it generally finishes in misfortune. Miles hopefully expresses that there might be a first time for the story to cheerfully end. They return to the party where Gwen shows Miles her aspect bouncing watch, which likewise balances out her so she doesn't mess up when she is in different universes. Miles gets some information about joining the Bug Society, yet she turns out to be out of nowhere deterred about the subject and suggests that it's a profoundly specific and world-class bunch. Jeff and Rio barge in to meet Gwen, quickly disliking her fellowship with Miles. Gwen needs to leave when her watch demonstrates to her, and Jeff passes on Rio to converse with Miles. They have a sincere talk, at the same time, dreading everything that Gwen said to him. Miles actually doesn't uncover he is Bugman. Rio gives him her approval to pursue Gwen. Miles gets ready and tracks Insect Gwen to a deserted and as of late harmed constructing, utilizing his powers to turn imperceptible and follow her inside. She utilizes her watch to reproduce what occurred, seeing that Spot made a scaled-down collider to empower him to aspect jump. Gwen blows a gasket, and is called by Jess, who is furious that Gwen neglected to stop Spot before he got away. She understands Gwen defied direct requests to avoid Miles, however Gwen demands she needed to see him. She lets Jess know that she will leave Miles' aspect everlastingly, and the more established Bug Lady allows her one final opportunity to get Spot before she tells Miguel. Lila tracks him, and Gwen utilizes her watch to go through a gateway. Not entirely settled to find out about the Bug Society, and feeling desolate without his companions, Miles hops in after her. They end up in Earth 50101, Mumbai, a reality where New York is a huge city in India. Miles coincidentally runs into Gwen while she is pursuing Spot, who has acquired significantly more command over his powers and is sidestepping her without any problem. Miles likewise meets the neighborhood Bugman, Pavitar Prabhakar. Pavitar has just been Bug individual for a considerable length of time, however is now an individual from the Insect Society. Miles starts to fit due to being dislodged from his universe, similar to the others did the earlier year, and almost gets Gwen injured when he attempts to save her. The three follow Spot to Earth 50101's Alchemax, which houses a completely utilitarian collider. Spot closes them out with a force field and enacts the gadget. Miles utilizes his toxin powers to take the energy from the force field, yet it's as excessively sluggish and not sufficient. Another insect individual shows up and utilizes his own powers to crush however the hindrance, exhorting Miles on the appropriate procedure. He is Gwen's companion Hobie Brown, aka Insect Punk, an English mutinous revolutionary bugman. He joins the others in attempting to prevent Spot from entering the collider, yet are past the point of no return. As Spot retains the power, Miles sees a dream of his dad and one more police officer being killed during a fight in the city. Spot, presently totally covered by the dull entrances and unrecognizable, lets Miles know that he will have his retribution for how the high schooler legend's activities have treated him, and Getaway's aspects by and by. The structure begins to implode and slide down onto Mumbattan, so the 4 bug individuals cooperate to clean the regular people off of damages away. As Paviter attempts to save a transport holding his sweetheart, he sees that her dad, Police Monitor Singh, is likewise in harm's way. Miles goes to safeguard him, yet Gwen keeps him down. It's too risky to even think about saying. Miles goes in any case, and is only ready to save the examiner, to Paviter and his sweetheart's help and appreciation. Notwithstanding, a dark entry opens up in the core of the city, and a vehicle loaded with other bug individuals, including Jess, shows up to contain it. Jess orders Gwen, Hobie, and Miles to get back with her to HQ. Miles is glad to be let inside the Insect Society, yet Gwen is uncertain. They are shipped to Earth 928, Nueva York, a lovely modern world in the year 2099. They enter the Bug Society Central Command, where Miles sees many insect individuals from all kinds of aspects, including a computer-generated simulation symbol bug lady named Bug Bite, controlled from a distance by youngster Margot Kess. Befuddled with regards to why Gwen let him know it was a little gathering, Miles is given a wristband to keep him from misfiring. He likewise sees oddities, miscreants uprooted from their own aspects, who are detained and planning to be sent home by the return home machine, a gadget that distinguishes the DNA of the peculiarities and sends them to the aspect they came from. They are brought to see Miguel, and Hobie advises Miles to consider cautiously about why he needs to be a piece of the general public, cautioning him to understand what he's battling for before he acknowledges their strategies. Miguel is enraged at Gwen and Miles for allowing Spot to move away, particularly at Miles for meddling. He is intruded on by Peter B. Parker, the insect man who helped Miles the earlier year, with his newborn child little girl Mayday. Gwen assumes liability, saying she ought to never have gone to see Miles as she was compelled not to get him included. Miles needs to know what's happening, so Miguel chooses to make sense of the circumstance for him. He shows him a calculation containing the subtleties of each and every universe's bugman, and the things that connect all of them together, like the demise of a friend or family member prodding them to courage. Miguel makes sense of that these are group occasions that are fundamental for each insect man's universe. These occasions can't be changed, or probably they will break the group, prompting destroying outcomes. Miguel makes sense of that he, at the end of the day, broke the standard when he attempted to supplant a rendition of himself that was killed, to raise that variant of him's little girl. In any case, his impedance made that aspect and everybody in it blur into nothing. There are different subtleties that numerous insect individuals share and can be followed by the calculation, one of which being a police commander near Bugman winding up dead while attempting to save a youngster. This passing has been capable by Peter B. Furthermore, Jess, as well as Hobie. It should end up captaining Singh in Mumbattan, however Miles saved him, making the dark energy show up and take steps to swallow the whole world. Gwen was attempting to stop him to protect the calculation standard. Miles understands that his father will before long be made a commander, and the vision from Spot showed the antagonist causing Jefferson's passing while at the same time attempting to save a kid. Miguel affirms that as per their projections, Miles' dad will pass on in 2 days, when he is confirmed. Miles needs to go save him, yet Miguel won't permit him to, saying it is a penance that all bug individuals should make, and demanding that to harm the group a lot of would make each aspect be destroyed. The other bug individuals encompass Miles and let him know something very similar, even Peter B. What's more, Gwen will not meddle. Miles dismisses the idea that the calculation knows precisely exact thing will occur assuming he attempts to save his father, so Miguel ensnares him in a power confine, meaning to hold him until the ordinance occasion has worked out. Hobie helps Miles to remember his toxin powers, and Miles breaks out of the enclosure and runs for it. Hobie looks on gladly prior to stopping the insect society and getting back to his own aspect. Miguel orders each bug individual in the high-rise to get Miles, however he can avoid them into the Undercity. Peter B. tracks down him and attempts to dissuade him, saying he just dared to become a dad due to Miles, and attempts to inspire him to surrender for the good of his own. Miles won't permit his dad to pass on in light of the fact that Miguel's calculation says it is intended to work out, and leaves Peter behind when Miguel tracks them from Peter's watch. Miles escapes onto a train destined for the moon, however Miguel pursues him savagely. He gets him, and irately lets Miles know that he would never be a piece of the Bug Society, since he is a peculiarity himself. The bug that piece Miles was from another aspect. It was never expected to tear into him, and someplace there is a world with no Bugman at all as a result of it. Peter B. Furthermore, Gwen get up to speed, and inadvertently uncover that they knew about this, leaving Miles feeling deceived by his own companions. By the by, he utilizes his toxin strike to depower Miguel's suit, letting him know that he won't ever surrender, and he has now tricked all of the bug individuals from the Central Command. He leaves Miguel and the others on the train as he turns undetectable and gets away from back to HQ. He enacts the return home machine, which filters his DNA. Miguel attempts frantically to stop him, however insect bite allows the machine to keep, sending Miles away. Miguel is incensed, and arranges Jess and Ben, aka Red Bug, to accompany him and chase Miles down. Gwen questions Miguel before everybody, contending that perhaps Miles is correct, and maybe Insect Man 2099's calculation doesn't be aware for specific what will occur assuming the ordinance is broken. Miguel utilizations to return home machine to oust Gwen back to her own aspect. Peter B. What's more, Mayday returned to Earth 616 to track down his significant other, Mary Jane, sitting tight for them. Peter contemplates whether he will be any great at bringing up a youngster all things considered, yet Mary Jane consoles him. Miles shows up in New York, and Gwen is dropped off in Earth 65. Miguel, Red, and Jessica additionally magically transport to New York. Gwen attempts frantically to return and track down Miles, however her watch has been deactivated. She goes to her condo to snatch her things, however is tracked down by her father. They at long last talk, Gwen making sense of why she believed she would never educate him regarding her adjust inner self, and George tells her that he is stopping the police force. Gwen understands that implies he will presently not be a commander, and they accommodate. George gives Gwen a bundle left by Hobie, containing a natively constructed aspect watch produced using parts taken from the Insect Society. Gwen utilizes it to bounce back to Miles' Earth. Jess, Miguel, and Ben split up to search for a significant distance. In the meantime, Miles is dashing through the city to his loft, mulling over all that the other bug individuals have told him. He returns to his room securely, and is tracked down by his mother. Miles embraces her, meandering aimlessly about all that has happened to him since leaving. He concludes he won't be apprehensive any longer, and tells her that he's Bugman. Rio, nonetheless, doesn't have the foggiest idea who Insect Man is, and approaches her night. Miles starts to fit from layered dislodging, as Gwen shows up at Miles' unfilled room in Earth 1610. Miles understands that the return home machine sent him to the aspect the bug who bit him came from, Earth 42. Aaron Davis, Miles' uncle, appears, still alive in this world, yet there is no indication of Jeff, and Rio is staying at work longer than required to attempt to accommodate her and her child. Aaron takes Miles with him up to the rooftop, inquiring as to whether he recalls the arrangement. As they leave, Miles takes in this rendition of New York, a wrongdoing-ridden, low-life governed, hazardous scene, and sees that his dad has proactively been killed in this universe. Miles recalls that Earth 42 has no Insect Man. Aaron gets a text, and before Miles can respond, he is thumped oblivious by an obscure figure. Gwen hears Mr. and Mrs. Spirits worriedly talking in the other room, and they examine their sensation of estrangement from their child. Gwen shows up and lets them know it is her shortcoming he has not returned, acquiring some regard from Jeff when he discovers that her dad is a cop. She passes on to track down Miles, and Rio requests that she help him to remember their affection for him when she does. Miles comes to restricted in Aaron's condo. He attempts to make sense of that he is from another universe, one where his dad is alive and Aaron is dead. He requests to Aaron's better nature, saying his uncle never really needed to be the Prowler. Aaron lets Miles know that he isn't the Prowler, however shows him the individual who is, Earth 42's Miles' spirits. Prowler Miles is interested by his story, and Miles begs his partner to deliver him so he can save their dad. Be that as it may, Prowler Miles in no way wants to let him go, since that is his dad. Gwen assembles her own group to find and save Miles, including Hobie, Paviter, Margot, Peter B. What's more, Mayday, Penite Parker and her robot SP, Dr. Insect Man Noir, and Bugham. As they utilize Hobie's custom-made entryways to begin their central goal, Miles begins to energize his venom. The end. Thanks you.